I don't want them to need my money. My time is actually more valuable than my check. I've done probably a dozen advisory only roles recently, and those, funny enough, those on paper seem to actually have worked out better.
The interesting part is my sales style.
What I always find with the best entrepreneurs is you hit that moment, you do the research, and you go, this is just stupid.
Welcome to Money Mavericks, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of finance, investment, and entrepreneurship.
I'm Kirk Drake.
And I'm Daryl Hicks. Together, we're here to bring you the latest insights, expert opinions from the trailblazers who are redefining success in the financial world. You hosted a roundtable at that entrepreneurs event on angel investing. And it was one of the first times where I sat down. I felt like most of what I heard was Chinese, but you clearly had distilled down some really great steps. And, fast forward 10 years later, I've done, a fair amount of angel investing myself now. And I keep thinking back actually to the notes that I took when we were sitting down on that. I think maybe that's as good a place to start as any. I'd love to kind of just hear your thoughts. I'm sure they've evolved over 10 years.
My philosophy, though, I think I can tell you how I messed it up. When I first started, coming from Moncton, New Brunswick, that's where Daryl and I are both from. I think any entrepreneur that's ever made any money, we start, especially if you struggled for a while, two failed companies, finally made some money, saved everything, and thought, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it was like, okay, there's the entrepreneur and then there's the investor. I need this I quadrant. I need a little bit of that in my life. And because I had finally found success, I thought, ooh, now I think I have the recipe. All right. So anything I get involved in is just going to magically be winner, winner, chicken dinner. And funny enough, the first investment I ever did was with my brother in his company. He had a home building company, totally outside of software or tech or anything. And because of who he is, it actually went incredibly well. Not at first, but eventually did really well. I was like, okay, let's do more of this. And I probably lost close to $1 million in the next 2 years. So I can tell you what not to do. What not to do is think that your money, two things you're putting at risk, your money and your time, which are freaking the most valuable thing in the world, is going to equal success. And that's what I did. So I lost a lot of money, invested in entrepreneurs there's this one guy, he's like, oh yeah, I'm doing this dating site, blah, 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 blah. And I even knew, I was like, this sounds so stupid, but everybody was talking so highly of the entrepreneur. I got involved, and 12 months later, he bankrupted the business, and I'm just like, well, that was dumb. And I knew better. That was the worst part. And then the other thing is I was writing different size checks. I moved to San Francisco and I started angel investing there. And I right off the bat, everything shifted because I was like, whoa, the quality, these are entrepreneurs that okay, this other guy worked at Canadian Tire and decided to start this dating website, and he's not even technical. Oh, I'm going to give him my money. Two, here's a founding team and there's 3 of them and they're all engineers and they're from Stanford. Well, okay, this is different. But where I got lucky is I met a guy named Naval Ravikant. So a lot of people know Naval now. Back then he was known in the tech industry, but he wasn't, on Joe Rogan, that kind of stuff. And he's the one that gave me the advice because I asked him. He was very prolific. He wasn't the top angel investor. Angel investor was actually interesting because it was a newish term in early 2000. But essentially the philosophy was your own capital. And super angels was the term that was starting to come to be. People that had done 25 plus deal, I would say at the time was a 2 super angel. And Naval was definitely one. And he's the one that gave me the advice. So a few things I look for. First, I'm always deploying capital over a 4-year time cycle. So I'm never trying to pick timing in a market. If I don't have enough capital to invest over a 4-year time window, then I don't do it because then I'm trying to pick winners. That was the biggest thing Naval explained to me. He goes, if you think you can pick winners, you're crazy. It's mathematically impossible. First principles, not possible. Okay, so then how do you essentially dollar cost average into your angel deals?
Yeah, that's just about to say. This sounds a lot like DCA, dollar cost averaging, right?
And that's how he presented to me. He says, over a 4-year window, you're going to either catch the tail end or the beginning of another market cycle. And if you can do at least a dozen deals over that 4-year window, so that's about 3 a year, and still look, try to understand what your thesis is, try to figure out what it is about the people. He definitely said, double down on the people. He goes, most of the deals that I look at that won, when I made the investment, it wasn't the idea. And we hear this all the time, but
bet on the jockey, not the horse, right?
Dude, I used to bet on the horse. I'm like, oh, that's a great industry. That's a great market. Oh yeah, we'll disrupt that thing. But guess what? Without the jockey, No, yeah.
Yeah, I found along the way is a combination of two things. I'd only invest in things that my network and time could be a multiplier. So I started doing, okay, I'll put the money in, but only if you turn around and spend some portion of that money back with our fintech coaching, so that effectively I was getting a 2x valuation on my 1x money, which then meant that almost always I would at least get even money, which is not a great situation, but was certainly better. And the third piece was I going to learn something from watching them in the process.
Yeah,
right?
that was the other thing that Naval recommended. He said, A, don't get involved in things that you personally don't have a problem around. Like I only invested in things where I had a problem and it was just serendipity. It's like, oh my gosh, I actually was running into that. I don't want to start that company. You're doing it. You know, all things being equal, that was great. And then learning. So like I started Clarity. I think that's what I was doing when we first met, which is a marketplace. But I learned about marketplaces as an investor in Udemy. And I would choose founding teams. And that was my simple filter. When I sat down with them, did I learn something? Right. And they didn't even know I was doing that, but I would be very curious. Like, how did you choose a market? How big do you think it is? Why do you think this is differentiated? Blah. And I was looking to the quality of their answers, and independent if I thought that thing was going to work, I was just looking, are these people that are incredibly passionate? Because like, I remember one time an investor asked me in my company, they go, why are you the person to solve this problem? And I just love that. Because like, why are you uniquely qualified? There's 100 people working on this problem right now. Why are you uniquely qualified? I call it founder product fit.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got this idea of like DCA over a 4-year period, so that you're going to be capturing, the market cycle at various stages.
Same investment size. That was the other thing I was making. I was putting in $250,000. I was putting in 50Ks. I was putting 100Ks. So like my investment prior to that was all over, which Naval's like, well, then you're trying to choose winners.
Right.
So his philosophy was pick the same size check, cross those 12, and then always get pro rata and always re-up.
Always re-up.
Yeah, that's where the real money's going to be made.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So always re-up. So 12 checks over 4 years, not trying to pick winners, making sure that what you're investing into is something that you at least understand, a problem that you had before. I have a problem before. And then when you sit down with the founders, again, you're betting on the jockey, not the horse. But your lens was, is their founder product fit? Did I learn something new from these people that I didn't before? Even though I understand this problem, I understand this pain, I know a little bit about it, these guys clearly are domain experts.
Think about it this way. Even if I lose my money, am I better now for having these people in my life? That's like, I paid for an education, like a couple $1,000,000, but even if I never got any of that money back, that was the fast track way to be. Because like, when you can talk to a founder whenever you need them to connect you, especially in an industry you don't know that well, the ROI of that, it's huge.
And kind of like on the other side, going much, much, much later, I know that you do a little bit on the PE side, like buying out firms completely. But I think you also have a very narrow lens. In fact, actually now I think the answer might be a little bit similar to the way that you're looking at angel investing, where it seems to me that you only buy SaaS businesses, for example. That
was the other thing I stopped doing. I stopped investing in anything that wasn't in my world. So I only do software, and I only do B2B software. Okay, so Matt at Pila Case is one of the 2, maybe 3. I have another one. I have 3 direct-to-consumer investments because of the jockey. These are people that I've worked with or I've known for a while. They've exited. And this is the other philosophy, even just in angel investing. I don't want them to need my money. So I haven't put money into a company where they needed me to be involved or they weren't going to be able to get it done and be successful. So that's the other filter that I used to have when I was on the East Coast. They're like, man, we need you specifically with your background experience. And I'm like, nope, not doing that. I literally want to fight my way into deals now. I want the rounds to be well oversubscribed. It's a foregone conclusion. And then I'm coming in with my capital. And actually, Kirk, to your point about like your advice, I used to use that as a value add, but now I try to separate it. And that's why I don't even know some of the deals I do. Because like, I don't mind them using my name, but my time is actually more valuable than my check. So, I mean, I've done probably a dozen advisory only roles recently. And those, funny enough, those on paper seem to actually have worked out better.
On Money Mavericks, we don't just talk about making money. We explore the innovative strategies and bold decisions that drive real change. Whether you're an experienced investor, a budding entrepreneur, or just someone looking to make smarter financial choices, we've got something for you.
Every week, we're going to sit down with industry leaders, visionaries, and mavericks who share their journeys, challenges, and breakthroughs. From contrarian views on market trends to the secrets behind building a successful startup, you get an inside look at what it takes to thrive in today's economy.
And we promise to keep it real, engaging, and most importantly, actionable. No jargon, no fluff. Just straightforward conversations that you can apply to your own financial journey.
So get ready to challenge your thinking, expand your knowledge, and take control of your financial future. This is Money Mavericks,
where we turn financial dreams into realities and mavericks into legends.
I don't know many people that when they're starting a real estate brokerage, all of a sudden say, well, now we're going to open up a separate business for the marketing piece. Like, isn't the traditional path that you just kind of outsource that? Or like, how do most real estate brokerages want to solve that
Kind
problem?
of. I mean, that's halfway through that origin story, and then it goes on to manufacturing and a whole bunch of different tangents. But the trend really is, if we use the real estate side, right? If you have a licensed realtor, which in the brokerage world, you're hanging the licenses of realtors. And there's kind of two really different mindsets. You give somebody a lockbox key and you go, you can sell anything, go make some money. And then there's the development world where it's like you take a contract for this building and you're in the show suite and you want to just sell the suites that are available there. It's two very different mindsets. And we found that some agents succeeded and excelled over here. Some of our team excelled over there. So we really just formed two companies or broke one out because there was an opportunity for it.
So at what point does the manufacturing business come in? Because when you and I first met, that's what that's what you were doing. And I'm like, okay, so BMW.
Yeah, keep going down there, in the BMW world. And then I got fully into the real estate world, but lots of doctors and lawyers and people who were clients of mine in the BMW world came with me into real estate.
How did you make that relationship flip? Hey, I sold you a car. Do you want to invest in this new thing? Like, I feel like that's
The interesting part is my sales style has always been very relational. And the car world was like, everybody's fighting over ups. And, somebody walks on the lot and it's like, oh, this one's mine, go and get it. I sat in my office, and to the dismay of other people who were on the sales floor, people would walk in and they're like, hey, is Joel here? I was told I need to talk to him. I had a much deeper relationship,
Sure.
And to me, it was so easy because, not to pick on car salespeople, but real estate, car sales, I think the bar for service is quite low. If you say, I'm going to call you back, and then you do, or, if you're talking to one of your clients and they're like, hey, I need my car, my winter tires on or whatever, hell, come get it. Let me come pick it up. And then I'll drop off the service loaner and then I'll take it back. And now that I'm no longer at the dealership, maybe I'll stop by my real estate project on the way.
Did you ask your boss if he could do it, or you just did it?
I just did it.
Yeah, because I feel like most of them, like, I need to ask if I can go pick up the car, and then there's this whole liability conversation, right? And
oh, no. I mean, they knew I was doing it, and I would take one of the loaners, and they kind of encouraged it. But I would just say, I'm going to get the Smith's car. I'm going to get the Johnson's car, whatever it was.
right.
But later on in life, it was part of what made me leave the auto world. And I'm very grateful for my experience there. But I used some of those really deep relationships I had. And, I was talking to a client and he wanted a Bentley. Well, I worked at a BMW store, but called through our network, found a car, sold it to him over here, had it shipped from Calgary to Vancouver, went and got it, met him there. I guess I did things differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a pattern in my life. So when I made that transition over, I just sent them all a note and said, hey, I'm doing this now. Thank you so much for your time over here. And then they were like, hey, we're looking to sell this or buy that. And it was very organic. It wasn't, forced or kind of by design. I think it was just, I valued those relationships and in turn, they valued what I was doing.
What I always find with the best entrepreneurs is you hit that moment, you do the research, and you go, this is just stupid. For whatever reason, all these guys aren't paying attention and don't see the value. And then we're crazy enough to go, all right, give me 6 weeks, I'll figure it out.
And here's the thing, like Daryl knows this, and like, I love food, I love wine. And I think people underestimate the breaking bread with somebody, right? So where Dan, who's our partner on the solvent business, Dan was doing this. He was prepping Nutri-Grain Spirit and selling it to beverage companies. And I said, Dan, let me buy you dinner because I want to pick your brain a little bit here. And we're thinking of doing this on a much bigger scale in the industrial world, not in the liquor world. Liquor's yours. We're over here. But, so a nice bottle of wine at a nice restaurant is number one, that's enjoyable for me. It's enjoyable for that person. It increases that relationship between us. And I learned a ton. And the number of times that people go, we should do this together. And Dan said like, hey, you guys put the capital in and I'll come and do that for you. I already know how to do it. And I was like, perfect, let's do it. And it doesn't always turn out into a deal. Sometimes it's just like a great memory, some learnings, and a good meal and a good bottle of wine. That's a win in my book too.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Money Mavericks. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to share this episode with someone who needs to hear it.
Stay connected with us on social media and visit our website for exclusive resources, episode transcripts, and more.
Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries, making smart moves, and turning your financial dreams into realities.
You've been listening to Money Mavericks, where Mavericks become legends.